Hi guys, today I bring you a video of Europa Universalis IV the trading guide. So I'm gonna use my old Portugal save, so the trades will not be optimized here, but I will go through all the details regarding trade as I saw on Paradox forums, some people asking how the trading is working, and I just want to make a video that goes through, I think, pretty much almost everything regarding trade. There's a few things that I still haven't clarified 100%, but I'll mention them. Okay, so trade has mainly two sort of resources, and they are trade power and trade value. Now, trade value is basically the money within trade. So each trade value gets added to trade nodes. So if we, sorry, wrong map. If you look, there's like 70 here being collected, that's all made up, and if you look like local, this is basically the sum of all the trade values. So trade value is the money traveling. And the second thing that you got is trade power. And trade power is basically how much influence do you have within the node to affect the trade value in it. So trade power determines what you do with a trade value. So trade power is control over money. So let's go more in depth. First, trade value is used to a combination of production and buildings. So by production, each province has its own resource. Like say here fish, and it says like the current price is 1.6 of fish, and it's the price, the value of the price of a trade is determined by supply and demand. I think you can get more detail if you hover over here, and on demand it'll tell you what affects for each resource. So different resources will have different things affecting demand, but if you want to know more about this, go to the EU4 wiki and look up trading goods and stuff like that. So I'm not going to go into that, but that's one of the things that affects it. So what they do is they take the trade value, goods value, and then they multiply it by goods produced. Now, goods produced is affected by buildings and I think the tax base. So here it's 2.36, I think, produced. No, it's 6.8. Well, you got to work it out and look at all the details. It's not a big thing in the trading because unlike EU3, the values have been really standardized and you can no longer have a big effect on the trade value. So as you can see, so it's goods multiplied by goods produced and added buildings, like a trade depot adds more value to the trade, and the canal also adds another 25% multiplier. So basically, a lot of these buildings which have trade value, like this has one trade value, this has 25% modifier, and the others don't have it. So basically these two buildings, the trade depot and the canal, are the only things out of buildings that affect how much money you're generating. Generally, you don't focus on increasing the trade value unless you have very little land and every penny counts. If you're trying to be a trade empire, trade value has very little meaning, and you'll probably be taking other people's trade value and cashing it in yourself. Now, regarding trade power is determined by many things. So the first thing that determines it is certain provinces will have local trade power bonuses like this, and they'll have centers of trade. So some of the key Europe locations for that is the capital of Portugal, then Anduluca, I'm not sure did I pronounce it right, has also both bonuses. if we go around here, one of the provinces here has it, yes. This province, it's called province. Okay, province called province, never mind. London has both of them, center of trade and this. So that's basically a river, a major river exit and a trade port. Another one I think is, yes, it's Holland. And some other noticeable ones include the capital, I think, of Denmark. And there should be one around here. Yeah, there's one here. There's a lot of them. Let's just point out some of the key ones for going around trade. So I think there was meant to be there. This, I think that's the capital of Morocco, has it. So it has a trading power. Then there's one here. This is actually a really rich province which has it. There's two, Gold Coast has it, and Benin has the river exits. So these are some of the key for trading. Congo capital, Cape has it, and here we go, another one. So all of these you can find on the EU4 wiki a map which colors in all of them, but these are like the main ones for getting trade going through Africa, and if you control them, you generally don't have to control many other provinces as long as you control those key nodes. There's one over here, and several along the coast. Let's have a look. This one, this one, this one. So you'll find there's several. Here's one as well. So many provinces have these trade centers which can affect. I think also Manhattan has one. Yes, it does. So that's the first thing that affects trade power, and that's one of the major trade effectors. Now the second thing that affects trade power a lot, if we hover over this, you'll notice it'll say, it should say capital somewhere along here. Capital +5, let's see, where is it? Importance of trade, oh, it's, no, I'm not seeing where. Oh, it will not actually affect the actual province. If we, let me just get to the right map mode. If we go in here and have a look, it'll say capital in the area. This also gives you +5. And another thing that affects trade power is merchant present will give you +2 points. Ships will give you points depending on ship levels. I'll cover that in a bit. And the buildings, so marketplace +1 trade power. This 25% extra trade power. Another +1 trade power. 25% more. +3 and +50%. So that's actually more than 3, as it will affect everything down the line. And another +5. So as you can see, for all these benefits, I turned this province into 61 trade power. Well, if you compare it to this, which is also reasonably well upgraded. Actually, I'm wondering, can I find something more upgraded? Probably not. So yeah, a generally well upgraded one will only have 8.8. Whereas for something that is a center of trade, a river exit, plus all the buildings can have like 61, which is an insane amount, and you might get some events which trigger more. And like I said, I'll cover ships now. So ships affect, actually I can't see it from here. Let's have a look at ships. So as your technology goes up, your ships get better trade power. Like a frigate gives you 5 trade power. A heavy frigate gives you 6 trade power. I think I might have early frigates in here. Early frigate 4 trade power. Carrack is... No, is it Carrack or Caravel? I forgot which one is the trading one. Let's just find one. There you go. Caravel is 3.5 and the Bark is 3. So that's general power from each ship. And you can set the ships to patrol. So if you click this button, you can choose which node which you have any control over to patrol. And they add here, it will say like 66 ships patrolling. I'm getting 322 power, plus because I put in this fleet admiral or an explorer, I get for each point of maneuver skill a 5% increase in the points. So it's 322 plus 15%, which is 370 trade power from ships patrolling this trade node. So that's what makes up trade power. So trade value is amount of money within a trade node, and it's made out of the colored in local provinces. So all these provinces, I'm in trade view. All the provinces that are colored in one color, all the trade power is gathered here. And then any trade, like here being pushed along, will be also added on top, which is the incoming plus local. And then what happens to it is some of it will be pushed out and the rest will be collected. And that is determined by trade power, what happens with it, and who gets a portion of what. So let's see, what do you have to cover? Okay, so generally, whichever trade area you have your capital in, you auto-collect trade there. You can't push it. You just auto-collect. I don't think I can push it. Well, I can push it forcefully, but I can't. By default, I collect in due to the capital. I'm not gonna experiment with it here to check it. So let's just take my word for it now. Let's see now. Trade power flows. So there's always a starting point where all the trade starts. There's several starting points. Like Peru trade node is a starting point. So basically trade goes downstream. And at the start point it starts, it travels downstream, all the downstreams collect and go further downstream. And that's how the trade flows until the endpoint. There's, I think, only 2 endpoints in the game. This is an endpoint, which is the Venice node. And another end node is the Antwerpen. I can't pronounce it, sorry. There might be another one, but I can't seem to recall there being another one. Yeah, that's, I think there are only 2 end nodes. So all the trade travels along the world, assuming it does not get collected. Now you need merchants and trade power to control where it flows. Now merchants have 2 effects, like I mentioned. Having a merchant present will give you a default of +2. So I removed my merchant from here, I'm no longer having +2. Let's find another. Here I got Portugal. There's merchant present +2 trade power. So a merchant will give you +2 trade power. That means you can send a merchant where you have no control at all, get +2 trade power, and then you can send ships to increase that power. But generally you'll be making controlling most of it through land trade power and through your boats, assuming it's naval. But if you're saying here, you'll be purely doing it on land trade power and having key nodes like Novgorod, I believe, is a key node around here. Yes, it is. Center of trade. So having these key nodes will help you steer. Now, the thing about making money go where you want it, there's trade steering. Now, what merchants do is they either collect or transfer trade power. Now collecting is obvious. you'll be collecting money proportionate to your trade power within the node. So out of all the money that goes into the node, so incoming plus local, and your trade power will determine how much you collect. This will also be affected by your trade efficiency. So the money, the raw value, will be multiplied by any modifiers you have, which are national decisions, events, and your trade efficiency. And that will determine how much money you make. So with the merchant you can collect or you can push. Now it's not ideal to transfer trade power everywhere. The idea is you try to push transfer as much money as you can to your capital. So let's have a look here. So I'm pushing money from further, but as I'm losing around here a lot of money, I'm just gonna start from here. So say here I got very little province trade power. I only got 33 from a single province. And I got no more trade power incoming in here. So what I done is I added a merchant to give me extra 2, and then I put in some ships to give me another 48 trade power. I would generally need more trade power here, so I'm losing a lot. So I generally probably need about 50 ships or more in this trade node to make sure everything is flowing to me. And what you want to do with your merchants is merchants give you an ability to steer money. As you can see, it either goes here, or can click it can go here, or can click it can go here. The values will not update until the end of a month. So I would have to give some time to pass to see the values change. So all the calculations get done at the end of a month of where the money flows. So a merchant, you only need a merchant to determine which way it flows. So I put a merchant here because I wanted to direct all my trade power to push it just in that direction. So the reason it's going in the other direction is because other nations are pushing. You can actually see there's a Portuguese flag pushing in this direction, and there's everyone else who's also pushing along, and that's where other nations, and these are nations which have any involvement, like any power within the trade node. Now as it goes along, and in this trade node we got 3 countries competing: Portugal, Swahili, and Oyo. And the only reason I got a merchant really here is just to give me extra trade power to push more along, but I probably don't even need him that much, as it's only 2 trade power from the merchant. And so let's move along, and as you can see the money is increasing. So it started at 7.9, and then I'm pushing along 18 now. You know, some of it is getting collected here, I'm pushing more. And then at the next trade point, you can see I actually don't have a merchant icon, but the money is still getting pushed. Now the way it works is, if it is not your capital, it will auto push money down the stream. So it auto pushes it down the stream, and if no one else has any control, no merchants in here, everything gets pushed along. So you don't need a merchant where you dominate, or if everyone is just pushing along and no one has collection here. So even if I had a single province, or even if I didn't control this, but no one had a capital here, no one tried to collect here, all of the money would just flow along the way. So here's a perfect example. 3 nations here, and all of them are just pushing money. I have no merchant here. These 2 guys do have a merchant here, indicated by these icons. But money is just flowing along. And it doesn't matter how much trade power you got here, because everyone is just trying to push it. So even 1 trade power from each one would be enough just to push it along. Now we reach a key point. This trade node splits it 3 ways. And that's why you need a merchant to tell you that use all my trade power to push it in the direction which is beneficial to me. If I push it down there, these 2 guys would just collect everything, and I'd lose all my money. They'd be rich, and I'd get nothing because I got no merchant here pushing it anywhere. I got no way to put ships here to push anywhere. So generally that means you want to push it where you have control. Now say if I actually controlled all these provinces, it might be beneficial for me to just forward it this way because it would prevent others from controlling it. But generally, playing here, it's safer pushing it towards where you are. Unless, so I'm pushing it in this direction because I control this node. And everyone is just pushing it along the way. But if I didn't control anything here, I'd actually push it all the way to Caribbean and then to push it to bypass the node to go to me. As you can see, this arrow would go back to my own capital. And if someone else was collecting here, I could completely bypass them just by making use of other trade nodes. So yeah, the merchants are basically to direct that arrow, and that's the only purpose they have. If you have land there, merchants is only for directing the arrows to get the trade node. And as you can see, the value just keeps increasing as no one is really collecting a big amount of money, and you end up with a stupendous incoming amount from all different directions. Plus it says added value. This is a second function of a merchant. Through every node that your money goes through and you have a merchant there, the value gets increased. Now, the maximum value you can get is by having 5 merchants along the way, which would increase the total value by 11.3%. So you get 5% for one merchant, 2.5% increase in value from a second merchant, 1.6 from a third merchant. I think we can try having a look at it and seeing will it actually tell me. So Portugal, it's actually not telling me anything about the merchant. I think there's a tooltip missing, or I haven't found yet a tooltip. But generally the merchant will be increasing the value as it goes along. And at the end you're collecting it and it gets calculated. So let's now go. So yeah, it gets pushed. Now what happens, I mentioned going upstream, downstream. Now upstream, you can't push any money upstream. Now here, I've got lots of trade power, but I even had a merchant here because this is my early save and I didn't understand how it works. Is what upstream does is it pushes trade power to previous nodes. Now I can't find which tooltip actually shows that there's increased in trade power, but as you can see, this is Portugal is transferring 63.6 of the trade power upstream. So I'm going against the arrows. So generally it's not very beneficial having these pushing upstream, as it doesn't give you any money. And if you have complete control over here, say, and you don't have a giant competitor like Britain with 87 ships bullying me, then you don't really need the pushing upstream and it's pointless. But it can give you a small bonus if someone else is competing with you and you have a lot of provinces. But generally, don't put a merchant to push upstream. It will auto push upstream without a merchant. So even if I recall a merchant and let some time slip by, wow, let's just say I'm getting embargoed. But let's just say a month tick by. I just want to show this, and that's it. And as you can see, without the merchant, it's still going. It's the next month, everything has been recalculated, and it's still going the same way. So let's get rid of all the spam. I really shouldn't have done this. This is why I didn't want to resume. So that explains the upstream. And so you make money by pushing money down the stream and using merchants to steer it to the right arrows, and using ships to patrol the nodes. Now generally I advise having ships updated to the most recent level. So only where you have complete dominance and no one else is trying to collect, you can use all all dated ships like caravels and put them in there. And you should have ships at each node to affect it. So you can have like one ship patrolling just to get rid of pirates, one ship patrolling each node, which you don't really need to steer anything. And more ships where you're trying to get control to make sure it goes your way and someone else doesn't take the money or someone else doesn't steer it the wrong way. Oh, another thing I forgot to explain is if it's like a starting node like this and it's going two ways and you have no merchant in it and no one else has any merchants in it, then by default all the money will be pushed both ways, because it's not being collected by a merchant by anyone, and everyone is just pushing along with no merchants. Or even if they're pushing no, actually it's even if they're pushing along with the merchants, it'll just mean some of it will flow more way. So this is one of those trade nodes where it would be beneficial having a merchant here, because this merchant would make sure then a bigger portion, like even though I have more trade power here than the British, it's still both amounts are going equally both ways, because we're both pushing it just equally to both sides. And some of it I'm gaining, other of it is being pushed by Great Britain to England. So that's a general thing. Oh, and now few things can really affect your trade steering. So let's just go through some things in here. So trade efficiency is how much money you're basically gonna be making. It's gonna be used in another calculation. Trade range is how far you can put okay, trade efficiency affected by decisions and let's see, decisions and the technology level and any events. Trade range determined by I think ideas and technology. Trade steering is determined by I think either ideas and your navy tradition. And trade steering affects, if we have a look over here, I think somewhere along here it should say trade steering. Now I'm not entirely sure where it is, but basically trade steering affects, like the more trade steering power you have, the more control you'll have that it'll go your way over other people's ways. So with more trade steering you have, you need less trade power to make it go along your way. Has nothing to do with collection. And yeah, like I said, it's affected by ideas and navy tradition, and sometimes national ideas. Now trade income is a modifier, so it takes a base income, uses trade efficiency plus national decisions, events, to calculate how much extra money you'll be making. So here you can see I'm collecting 84 ducats from here, but due to my trade efficiency plus other things, my trade value turns it into 177. So I'm collecting like double, because I got 109% trade income. And mercantilism is something you gain through events, which allow you to increase your mercantilism or lower it, and through some national decisions. And what it does is basically just double your your mercantilism gets doubled and added to your provinces. So as you can see, I got the last one on the list is from mercantilism, 82% increase on my trade power. This is what allows crazy numbers in capitals like this, of having 61 trade power in a single province, which is more than all the standard provinces put together. And that basically is how all your trade is calculated and how it affects all your trade. So if you don't even have to collect in capital always, and if you just use your merchants in key points along the trade path and make sure that the money does not get collected anywhere along the way, you can collect massive amounts of money in your capital. And this being your capital also gives you extra, I think, 10% income. I think it says it probably over here. It says it somewhere along the way. But I know capital increases your income by 10%. And it should really say somewhere, I'm just not sure where. I think that covers basically the trade. So you push the trade along the way, make sure it's steered where you can collect it more of it, and the only time you want to collect money outside your capital is, say I was pushing it all the way to here and I have major trade power here, but both this node, and this node is manipulated completely by other nations. Then I would collect here, and that follows in different areas, but basically if you can't get the money to your capital, that's the only time you collect it before anyone else grabs the huge share of it. So that's it for my trading tutorial. See you next time.